It's time for your email questions, and we've got an interesting one to start with. Pat, Liza writes, who were the Nephilim? Were they cavemen?
No, they weren't cavemen. If you read Genesis, it's kind of cryptic, but it said in the very early days, the daughters of the sons of men were very beautiful, and the sons of God looked on them and decided they wanted to mate with them, and so they had children, and the children were giants. And they were the Nephilim, supposedly the children of angels. Sons of God, we believe, are angels. But it's very cryptic. You don't have a big explanation of all of it. But you get fanciful. People think, well, the reason for the flood was to kill off these evil people. You remember Goliath? He was one of the Anakim, and they think that he may have been one of those giants that were there. But whatever it was, they're gone now. But they weren't cavemen.
Interesting. All right. Evelyn writes, can you tell me more about Halloween? I know some people think it's just a fun day, but others say it's about evil. I've heard there are Christian origins to it. What's the truth?
Well, they're Druid origins. It came primarily out of Scotland and Ireland. And the whole thought was that this is the end of the summer and the beginning of winter. And so spirits of the dead roamed one night. And the idea was that you needed some protection against these spirits. So they had all kinds of rituals to keep it. And then there were people who were, I don't know if they were druids or people in some of these cults, but they would come by and say, trick or treat. And the trick was that they would kill one of your animals or hurt you, and if you didn't give them some food. So that's where that came from.
Wow.
The whole concept, the church then got into the act a few hundred years later, and they began talking about All Saints' Eve, and so it's a mixture. It's a mixture of pagan, Druid, Christian, a little bit of everything. All Saints' Eve and so forth. So Halloween, but then they had what they call the dance macabre, where all the ghosts and goblins came out of the cemeteries, and these people were dressed up like skeletons, and they danced, you know. It's spooky. The Puritans said, hey, this is evil, let's forget it. And others said, no, well, let's play with it. I would recommend a suggestion, and we've got another question having to do with that, so I want to answer them both at the same time. Yeah. It's a celebration. Everybody's having fun. They're out there with costumes and getting candy. I think churches ought to Christianize it. They ought to have a celebration in the church hall. They ought to have bobbing for apples. They ought to have, you know, games, pin the tail on the donkey and all that stuff. And have a good time. And there's nothing wrong with that. And
a lot of churches are doing that now, and I think they're calling it harvest celebrations.
That's it, like harvest. And so the kids want something to do, but otherwise they're going to go out with witches and goblins and demonic and who knows what all. But that's the idea.
You know, it was so fun as a kid, and you know, it was so innocent because you could be a princess or you could be a superhero, and it was all about the candy. But unfortunately, there are those other meanings as well.
They'll get on a sugar high. They'll eat so much candy they won't know what to do with it all. Okay, so much for that.
All right, let's skip to this one. Darren writes, my kid wants to read the Bible. Normally, that's not a problem, rather a blessing. But I'm apprehensive because there are lots of parts that are pretty raw and graphic about the Bible. I'm worried it will hurt their faith. Any thoughts on this?
Stop it. The Bible, you know, this is ridiculous. I mean, the Bible tells it like it is, and the kid's not going to get hurt reading the Bible. But you could start him reading things like the Gospel of John and the Psalms and things like that. Yeah. But, hey, we live in a rough neighborhood. We live in a rough world. People kill each other. They go to war. They fight. They have sex. They do bad things. God punishes them. I mean, it's all in there. So why think, well, I'm going to isolate my children from the Bible? Let them read the Bible. But I say, try if you don't mind, John, Psalms, letters of Paul, Acts, and books like that. You won't have any problem.
That's right. All right, Don writes, I know a guy who fasted and then had some serious health problems as a result of that. So how do I fast and stay healthy? Good question.
Well, I don't know what fast he went on. I mean, you know, in the Old Testament, and actually Jesus was on a 40-day fast. He didn't eat or drink. You could get seriously problem, especially if you have diabetes or something like that. It could be a health problem. There's a so-called no pleasant bread fast. There's a fast of 1 meal a day. There are all kinds of fasts. The idea is I'm going to deny myself a legitimate pleasure to show my spirit and to show God that I love Him. That's what it's about. So don't hurt your health in order to fast, all right?
Because if you're addicted to caffeine and other things and you go cold turkey and you just go on a 3-day water fast, you can end up getting some serious
I have
problems.
fasted one day and my head was going to blow off. And I remember coming into my apartment in New York, I said, Lord, if you just take this headache away, I'll never touch coffee as long as I live. And it was like a cool hand went over my head. And the headache was gone. I said, wait, give it back. So
you weren't quite ready to give it up.
I haven't had coffee since. That was 50 years ago.
I admire you. All right. All right. Danielle writes, I know I need to forgive in order to be blessed, but my husband cheated on me with my best friend for 13 years. I've tried and tried and tried to forgive, but I still hold anger. I told God that I've tried to forgive and asked Him to help me to forgive, but I'm failing. I do not want to carry this pain any longer. Please tell me what I need to do, Danielle.
Well, I don't know you well enough. I don't know what the circumstances are, but of course that's ground for divorce. What he's doing, this man sounds terrible, and I don't know what his attitude is. What his, you know, they've got to repent. It isn't just enough to say I'm going to forgive him for that, but
it sounds like the 13-year affair is over. According to this,
you don't know it's over.
Sure.
You don't know where he is. You don't know if they're divorced or what. I can't tell you. But the way to get over this is to start turning the negative into positive. If you keep saying, I can't stand the pain. I want to forgive him for the hurt he did to me. No, start saying, God bless him. I ask that he will come to the same knowledge I have, that he might meet Jesus. And that's the answer. That's who you pray for. All right.
All right. That's going to do it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.